25.20. AK the world's patch. AK Riot is doing almost no changes in this patch, which is very surprising. So, jungle power this patch, we're targeting a few junglers and one flex that are posting up really strong performances in regular play. Volibear, Warwick, and Briar. So these are changes that are not oriented towards pro play. These three are strong stat trackers in regular play, while in spacing gameplay is harder to access, so we're taking them down. Pantheon was over nerfed last patch, and it wasn't our intention to remove him completely from the meta, so we're looking to draw some of that back, okay? So they're gonna buff the clear speed and Q again. Yeah, Pantheon is that, but is that even a bad thing? Personally, I find it weird that Riot would bring back Pantheon for World's patch. I kind of think that Pantheon being that from jungle is probably a good thing. Like, of course, it sucks for the game that, you know, in solo queue you can play Pantheon jungle, it's not that viable. But, you know, it's a very pro-skewed champion, sure. But, bro, we just had, like, months and months. We had, like, I don't know how many months now. Pantheon jungle completely dominating pro play. This champion is so brutal. It just outskirmishes everything. The way it, like, soaks up damage. Global AoE, global ultimate. Like, it's so disgusting to face this. I personally think Raj should have just shot him and kept him dead for Worlds. I don't really understand why we're already, you know, bringing him back, but... To be honest, it just depends how much of the nerf they bring back, right? Maybe the clear speed is still kind of bad. Massacre buffs. Each of the other buffs in this list are aimed at champions that facially, I don't know, look statistically fine. Typically, 150% win rate, right? Or whatever this means. But are actually on the weaker side when taking into account their mastery curve. I guess it means under. I don't know, I can't read this. Take, for example, Malphite, a champion who only grows 2 to 3% win rate when fully mastered. This typically manifests most strongly with champions who are quite performant on game 1, who don't grow that much with high amounts of play, have a high novice share, people who are new to playing the champion all of them. On the flip side, here's Katarina, an interesting case study who has pretty steep mastery curve while also having one of the highest expert shares, and therefore lower novice shares in the game. To be honest, the wording they're using here is like, nobody will understand these words. Like, literally no player that reads this will understand anything that it means. This should have been explained more, like, properly. This pushes up her public win rate required to be balanced when taking these factors into account. Most other champions with similarly steep mastery curves tend to have higher novice rates, which pulls their public win rate down. So this is the thing, he brings out this word novice. This word was never really explained in the league terms what it actually means, and I'm pretty sure 99.9% of players reading this will not understand what it means. So it's just weird to me. Graves has been going pretty much full lethality one-shot builds for a while. We're looking at some adjustments here to correct his builds and open up some different types. So I saw some criticism on this, which I'm about to check. People are saying that Graves does not build full lethality, one-shot builds. Apparently this is completely wrong in cope. So apparently what happens is he buys Yomu's first item, and then he goes collector into crit. So basically the only item that Graves buys is Yomu's, which is the only item that is supposed to be non-crit. And the reason why he buys it is, I guess, for like the mobility part, right? And like a good early game spike and everything. And then he transitioned into collector, which is mostly like, which is also a crit item. So I guess this is just straight up wrong as well by Riot. Pro, with Pantheon and Poppy bot nerfed, we expect Wukong to rise. Yeah, this is true. Wukong will rise, but not only Wukong, champion like Jarvan will rise. And then you're probably gonna transition more into Viego and Naafiri. Is like kind of what I'm thinking. We're looking to bring them down to be closer to the rest of the front runners in jungle. Okay, so they're nerfing Wukong. But by nerfing Wukong, you're making Jarvan pretty much a lot stronger, right? We're seeing a lot of different meta reads going into Worlds, and I'm interested to see how Clash regions shake up and not looking to change things dramatically. We're looking at adjustment to 2 other champs. Camille is a champ which is on the fringe of viability, and we're looking to give some power neutral bump that also helps some of the pro attributes in an effort to increase viable options among scaling 1v9 AD fighters. Okay, interesting. So what is a pro skewed Camille buff? Is it maybe Q movement speed? Like, what are we looking for? On the flip side, Azir is still looking too strong in pro, but not nerfing him from his current state for regular play feels pretty bad. So I'm kind of like thinking to myself, how do they come to this conclusion? Because I'm pretty sure that Riot, sorry, none of the pro leagues right now are playing on the patch where Azir is nerfed. So how do they know that it's still too strong? Because Riot just brutally nerfed him by more than 2% win rate. No pro play, as far as I'm aware, is playing on the newest patch. So how do they know it's still too strong? Like, how? Just confused with the text here. Like, a lot of things here are just very confusing to me. Instead, we're looking for a power neutral change that shifts some of the power away for some of the pro attributes to other parts of his kit. Give him some clear strengths and weaknesses that hopefully give some power back to regular play. I am genuinely curious how they're gonna think that they can do a change that is basically better for, like, do like a power neutral change that is gonna like keep the win rate same, but it's gonna be worse for pro play. I honestly do not know how they intend to do that. I'm genuinely curious to see it tomorrow. So when you look at the patch, the change list is very small, and you have to also account that a lot of these changes are not even pro-specific nerfs. So it's really weird to me that this is supposed to be a Worlds patch, but the amount of changes is just so low. This usually doesn't happen for Worlds patch. Okay, so let's go over some of the champions here that they bring change. So first, Anivia. Riot nerfed her E and armor growth per level a while back, which resulted in her losing more than 1% win rate. She's a very old, clunky champion that is only played by mains. Usually her win rate is around like 52, so usually, yeah, she has very high win rates, together with some old champions, because she's just not deemed strong unless she's just at a very high win rate. And as far as I'm aware, she's only really a problem in China usually, because China really likes playing Anivia with like super aggressive setups. So I think it is fine to buff Anivia. The problem I have with Anivia is basically Catalyst. I think Catalyst should just be nerfed. I've been saying it for like multiple weeks now. Catalyst is the strongest epic item in the game. It makes laning against Anivia in general and other champions completely brain dead and brainless, and it doesn't make any sense why the item is this strong. Fizz buff, a little bit also surprising here. So Anivia buff to me, okay, sure, I get it. Fizz buff, I don't really get it because, I mean, I could be wrong, but just looking statistically, Fizz, I'm pretty sure is in a pretty good spot in low elo. So for example, if you look at UGG really quickly, right? It has 51% win rate in silver. I'm pretty sure usually this is a pretty high number for Fizz in terms of statistically, because usually his win rate is actually closer to 50 than 51. So his win rate is, like, statistically speaking, he's doing really well. I'm pretty sure Riot recently buffed him, right? They buffed, what was it? Like, was it E cooldown or something? I mean, I can just quickly check. They buffed E AP ratio and W cooldown. So he did just get buffed not too recently. And then his items, like, back in the day, like Leechbane and stuff, got buffed. So I don't get why this champion is being buffed. I don't. Now, going next to Katarina. Okay, I'm not really familiar with how Katarina statistically is, because she is very hard to judge because of how Riot says that she has the highest mastery curves in the game, right? So, okay, I get that. From my personal experience, I think this champion is in an insanely good state. Like, if you asked me 2-3 years ago, I would have legit told you this champion is underpowered. When I face this champion, I legit can't beat her anymore. Like with any mage, I simply cannot beat this champion anymore. When before, I felt like I could play any champion, beat this champion. So I'm just really like shocked here that we see a Katarina buff, because at least from my experience, I think the champion is actually probably on the really strong side, and I would have expected a nerf, not a buff, if anything. And I don't know. I mean, I get it. Like, this buff mostly affects me because I am playing in super high MMR, which means that I'm facing against like the best Katarinas in the game. And because this champion has the highest mastery curve, yeah, I'm facing a really strong version of the champion, while an average player doesn't. I understand that, but it's just weird to me that this champion is getting buffed. Malphite. So, I've seen a lot of debate on Malphite under the Rioters tweet. People complaining Malphite buffs. So, here's what I think. I think the champion is fucking terrible. I think this champion is really bad. Really bad. Like, when I play against Malphite, I think the game is free win. Obviously, he's more of a low elo stomper, so it makes sense that I don't really struggle against Malphite, right? But do I think it's good to buff this champion? No. Because his gameplay is horrible. I mean, it's just a brainless stat stick, right? It's like, this champion just needs rework badly. And maybe the game is just better if this champion is actually not good. So, as much as I think the champion is insanely weak, I just think this champion is ultimately insanely brainless and has poor gameplay, so buffing it is just not a good idea. But anyway, I hope they don't buff R, because Malphite is the only useful abilities are. They need to just try to make his other kit more functioning, but obviously when you buff Malphite too much, we had Malphite metas where he just right kicks people down with no counterplay, no skill whatsoever. It's a beginner champ, so yeah. Pantheon jungle buff, okay, and then Veigar buff. Okay, this one gets me a little bit exciting. Veigar buff. What are we gonna buff for Veigar? Is now the real question. What is an ability? Because like Veigar is a low elo skewed champion, and if they want to kind of buff him here for pro, I don't know if that's the reasoning, then what's an ability that we should be buffing that pros use better than regular players? I don't know. It's not W, and it's not E, that's for sure. And it's probably also not ultimate, because while ultimate is point and click, you shouldn't really be buffing that ability. So then the next things are, in my opinion, maybe buffing Q again, but his Q is pretty strong already, or buffing passive, where his passive grants you even more AP on, I don't know exactly how, but maybe more AP on Cannon, I don't know, because that's probably a pro skewed buff because they're better at last hitting, I don't know. Or maybe they just buff the mana on the champion, because the champion has ridiculous mana cost, but by buffing mana, you essentially buff him more in low elo than high elo, because high elo players are better at using mana. So I'm really not sure how you buff this champion, is what I'm trying to say. Champion nerfs, Briar. So, Briar. Yeah, no surprise she's getting nerfed. This champion is free elo in low elo. Like, this is literally the ultimate LP hack in low elo. If you're a low elo player, you basically play like Volibear and Briar, and you're literally just farming elo. So, yeah, this champ is, since release pretty much, at ridiculously high win rate in low MMR players, for low MMR players. So nerf here, I totally understand it. Orianna, this is a pro-specific nerf because she's basically rising up as a hashtag #1 mid laner, even though I don't think she's that good. It does make sense because Riot recently has nerfed her opposition. They nerfed Talia, Galio, they nerfed like some other mages mid lane, Azir. So yeah, because other champions are getting nerfed, she's technically getting stronger. Volibear, this is the same reasoning as Briar, right? Same reasoning. Insanely high win rate champion. Even not that bad of a win rate champ in high MMR. Actually, even to an extent performs pretty well in high MMR, but obviously a bit low MMR skewed. So yeah, farming elo just like Briar. Warwick. So I'm not really familiar here. Warwick, is Warwick really a big problem? I know he farms low elo players, so I guess, yeah, again, I guess it's a low elo player nerf, right? Like you look at Silver, this champion is farming players with insanely high win rate. Classic. And then Wukong jungle, a pro-specific nerf. So if you look at this list, like, the nerfs are only Ori and Wukong that are pro-specific, right? And the buffs are, I would say, maybe Veigar a little bit and Pantheon. So it's like 2 buffs for pro, 2 nerfs for pro, and that's about it. Like this patch is literally a nothing burger. Azir adjustment, I don't think they're gonna be able to unskew him from, like, give him a change that is not good in pro, whatever. Camille, okay, curious about that one. Maybe Q movement speed is what I think maybe they're gonna look to buff, because that's like a pro-specific probably buff. And then the Graves adjustment to make him build more tanky, so they're somehow gonna maybe make him go more into like Black Cleaver builds, which I think is fine. I don't think that's bad for the champion. So that's the whole patch. This patch is nothing burger. And then lastly, I want to address one more thing. I want to say that you guys should quite literally never, ever read any comment under these tweets. Because I, today, read the comments under these tweets, and 99% of the suggestions are complete delusion and cope. Complete delusion and cope. And let me just show you, this is apparently, I don't know, this guy that tweeted, his bio says he's a challenger Volibear player. Okay. He's a challenger Volibear player. Okay, so this guy is in top 0.01% of player base. Surely he knows what he's talking about, right? No, because he links a screenshot that is completely out of context, right? Completely out of context. And he says, why are we nerfing Volibear again? Where it doesn't take a genius to figure out why they're nerfing Volibear again. I mean, he obviously links top lane only, which is not even the main role of Volibear, right? And then he links 15.19, which the patch just came out and has no sample size, so some champions are ridiculously low win rate or some champions are ridiculously high win rate. It's obviously just a random screenshot to try to feed the narrative that Volibear should not be nerfed because he mains Volibear. But statistically speaking, obviously, Volibear is just very overpowered. And some champions are simply balanced around the regular players, right? It's the same when Yorick players are crying that Yorick is not viable in Challenger, or Teemo players are crying that Teemo is not good in Challenger or whatever. But the champ is not really like, you can't make the champion be good in Challenger and in low elo. Like, you can't. It is impossible to balance without kit change. So because there's no kit change here and the champion will be the champion, you just have to accept that these champions will be balanced around where the most players are performing with it, which is in low elo. Like, there's nothing I can do. It's the same for me. I love Veigar. I want to play in high elo, but there's nothing I can do. Like, for the fact that Veigar is just going to be shit in high elo for majority of the time because he just owns low elo and Riot has to nerf him usually. Like, and the same goes for like Aurelion Sol and whatever else. Like, I just can't do anything about it. I just have to accept that this is the reality we're in.